Welcome, I'm Colleen Marie, and today I'm going to make Chef AJ's cauliflower bisque. It is my first dinner party that I'm having with friends. I've had a couple holiday gatherings with my family, but this is the first time I'm inviting friends over. I'm going to set the table fancy and have an actual dinner party, so I'm pretty excited. Like I said, this is Chef AJ's cauliflower bisque. There is cauliflower, and there are sweet potatoes. So it's kind of more like a sweet potato soup that's thickened up with the cauliflower. I'm not going to put an onion in it because my friend is allergic to onions, but the other ingredients will be mustard, nutritional yeast, garlic, Mrs. Dash or the no salt seasoning of your choice, dried dill. I'm sure fresh dill would be lovely, but this recipe calls for dried dill, and some smoked paprika, which is different and more expensive than regular paprika. And she called for chipotle powder. I don't have chipotle powder, I have chipotle flakes, and I find that really hurts a lot. If I just get a flake on my tongue, I have come to find that I prefer powders. So this is a spicy powder. And it's all going to go into the Instant Pot. Everything but the mustard and the milk at the end. The first and perhaps trickiest part is cutting up this broccoli. So I'm going to chop off this big heavy stem thing. I already pulled the leaves off roughly. And I'm going to just roughly go in and cut in like a square, kind of to the center. And then the florets should start to just pop off. So let's see if I made that work. I don't recommend a cutting board that moves on you. It is the purposes of this video, and I'm trying everything out new. So you see the florets just come off. So, and because this goes into the blender at the end, I don't even need to cut anything up, including the yams or the sweet potatoes. So it's pretty easy. And so cutting this big honker chonker off and pulling off the florets. I've already rinsed these yams. I mean, she doesn't say to cut these yams, but I just can't imagine I don't need to cut them at all. So we're going to give them a little bit of chop, not much, just a little bit. Cut them into big quarter pieces here. I like things that are very easy to make. I live for the Instant Pot, and it just makes my life so much easier. I'm thinking about getting a second Instant Pot. This one I want to get with the yogurt maker. I'd like to try to make yogurt at home, so I will keep chopping here. Chef AJ actually calls for Hannah yams, which are white sweet potatoes. I don't have access to those at my store that I was at, so I'm just using regular orange sweet potatoes. So cutting up those sweet potatoes, which I don't think you actually technically had to cut them up, and pulling apart the cauliflower was the hardest part of this entire recipe. So now I'm going to add a few things. First, I'm going to add 6 cups of water. And I'm going to add 8 cloves of garlic. So a lot of times I'll just use the minced garlic in a jar, and I always look for the kind that doesn't have oil in it. So this is about 2.5, 3 tablespoons of minced garlic equals 8 cloves of garlic, more or less. And I'm also using it's Dash now. It's not Mrs. Dash, but this is my favorite salt substitute. I use it in everything. And I'm also putting on smoked paprika. Smoked paprika is different than regular paprika, and of course it's more expensive. And I'm also using dill, a couple tablespoons of dill. I'm not fancy enough yet. The recipe's not going to be at the bottom of this. You can look up Chef AJ's cauliflower bisque. Now, I'm not going to put the mustard in yet, or the nutritional yeast, or the dairy. She wants me to wait on that. So I've got everything in there, and I'm going to put it on pressure cooker for 10 minutes with a slow, she doesn't say slow release or anything. She says release the pressure. So we're going to put the lid on the Instant Pot and pressure cook for 10 minutes and turn it off that keep warm setting. And we're going to start it. It'll take a few minutes to come up to pressure. It'll run for 10 minutes, and then I'm going to do a manual release and add those other ingredients, and we'll be done. Pretty easy. Okay, my friends, it is the next morning. I went ahead and put the soup in a bowl and put it in the refrigerator overnight so it would cool off. And the reason why I need to let it cool off is because I don't want to put something super hot into this blender. It's not good for it. It's a plastic blender. I don't want it to crack. There is already kind of a little crack in there. So that's why no hot liquids. So it's nice and cold, and there's not a special way to do this. I just use a ladle, and I have to have a second bowl to put the soup into after it's been blended. And I should probably just invest in a $12 immersion blender, and I wouldn't have to do this, but I really try to keep my gadgets to a minimum, and I just haven't bothered to invest in one of those. So here we go. We're going to start blending this soup. I just blended it for 30 seconds. I don't think it needs a full minute. And pouring it out into my second soup bowl here. There's a lot of soup, so I hope this works. And I have to do a few batches. So honestly, in the hassle factor, this is kind of high. Now that I'm showing it to you, I'm really like, I should just get myself an immersion blender. Maybe I'll ask Santa Colleen for one. Santa Colleen always knows exactly what I want, and she hooks me up. And finally, round 3. I did have to get out another bowl. And I wear an apron when I cook because clothes are expensive, and it's just better to wear an apron because things get sloshy, things happen, accidents happen, and I don't want to be having to replace my clothes because I got one little stupid stain right on the front. I don't got time for that. So there's my third batch, and we'll blend this up a little. I'm thinking it may be a little on the thick side, so I may go ahead and add that 4th cup of plant milk. So I did decide to add milk to this, some more milk, to get it to be a little bit more soupy and liquidy. It was a little bit too thick. So I'm stirring that milk in now. I don't need to reblend it, but I do need to stir this in well. But it is looking beautiful. Now this is cold soup right now because, like I said, I put it in overnight to cool down. And when my guests come over, I'm just going to put this on the stove and reheat it, and the house will smell really nice and it'll be lovely. But let's have just a little bit of the taste of the cold soup. I could heat it up, but for the purposes of this exercise, I'm just going to have a taste of cold. It's so good. It's so creamy, and that dill really gives it a spark of flavor. And that's dried dill. Really good. It's not like a pure, harvesty Thanksgiving, squash soup. It's different than that. Or sweet potato soup. It's different than that. It's more lively than hibernating soup. I can't explain that's the best words I can say. Hibernating and cozy. This is cozy, but it's still got a spark to it. And a touch of heat. And boy, a little heat. Like I only did 2 shakes of that spicy stuff in this whole container. And I've learned my lesson. For me, a little hot spice goes a long way. I think my guests are really going to like it.